Welcome back, beautiful people, my little stars. We are Brilliant Minds, Brains, Banter, and Being Human. I'm Olivia, and this is
Andrea, hello, you all. Welcome back to 2026.
Wild That We're Here. And as always, remember that we are not your therapist. Thank goodness. Okay, we are going to be talking today a little bit about. There's no good way to transition this, so I'm just going to
No,
transition it.
no.
Talking a little bit about private practice, things to think about, things to know, and also just like a little bit of a day in the life of what it looks like for both of us doing private practice and having a business and all that fun stuff.
Hopefully, this makes sense to people who aren't in our field too. So, yeah,
Fingers crossed.
always, always.
I was curious to ask you this question of what do you feel like was one of the more challenging pieces of going private practice?
Huh. I mean, that's such a great question because challenges wise was like the unknown, like entering into areas of unknown and learning things that I didn't expect to learn, I guess, is kind of how I'm describing this. Because as we both know in school, when you go get your master's, they don't really teach you how to do private practice, right? They treat you how to
Right.
teach you how to do the clinical work, or that's what you learn in internship. And you don't really learn the ins and outs of how do we figure out how to bill our clients? Do we do it every week? Do we save a card on file? Like, I think that was the biggest challenge. I think that our previous job set me up for space to create boundaries and schedule and like be able to kind of do a lot on my own. But I think the barriers or the challenges that came up were like, oh my gosh, now we do have to do all the things on our own, like billing and taxes and money. And yeah, like the thing that comes to mind is money. Yeah. What about you?
I think for me, when I think about the process of transitioning to private practice, one of the more challenging things, and I'm sure it was like, I know it was challenging for you too, is more of the logistical piece of, at least for us, going from a payroll system of every 2 weeks to
Hmm.
going to a payroll system that we created
Yeah.
first off,
Yeah.
and B is also wildly dependent on when claims get paid out by insurance companies and also when clients or people that we supervise pay invoices.
Yeah. And when I tell you guys we didn't pay ourselves for like 2 months, we didn't pay ourselves at all for 2 months. Or was it
For
three?
almost, yeah, I think it was actually three.
It was
It was the
three.
first three, yeah.
And I kind of remember we were texting back and forth about it a little bit when it came time, like our CPA gave us the numbers, and we were both like, okay, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? Okay, I'm going to do it. This is what we're going to do. And it was just like can we?
And we still do that every time we pay ourselves.
Yes.
Like, hey, just so you know, I'm paying
Yeah.
myself.
Hey, I'm about to click transfer.
Yeah. And thankfully, at least in this scenario, I knew that it was going to be a really big shift in terms of that transfer over and consistency of paycheck.
Hmm.
And so I was expecting it, and that helped. But I think logistically, that is probably one of the bigger challenges of switching to private practice. And not everyone, I think, is going to face that because they might already be a 1099. And so they already have some variability in paycheck and or have had to navigate some of the business aspects of what that looks like.
Hmm.
However, at least I think logistically, that was the most challenging.
Yeah.
In conjunction with that question, what do you think was one of the most unexpected things?
Oh man, you didn't prep me for this question. It's just coming out as it is. What was something unexpected? Oh my gosh. Well,
I mean, you might not have anything. That's okay too.
I think I'm surprised at how easy it's coming to me. Like in the sense of
Okay.
like the whole process. I was trying to think of something that was like challenging, but it doesn't have to be, right? Like the thing that's surprising me is how seamless of a transition this felt and how right it felt, I think, to be here and to be a little bit more in charge of things and to work with someone who actually has similar values and cares the same way I care. And to have that experience, I think is probably the most surprising thing, especially because, like what I said, is we were not taught how to do this as a business. Like, we have had to figure
Right.
that out all on our own. And there's a lot that, like, in community mental health and clinics that you learn kind of along the way about insurance companies and things like that, but you don't learn about whether to get a PLLC or a LLC or a S corp or whatever the hell. But I think the thing that felt surprising was like, oh, I actually can do this. Like, I'm not 100% confident myself. We've talked about this here, but it is surprising at how easy it felt to be in private practice, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, before going private practice, I often felt like it was a very daunting thing.
Hmm.
But overall, I think it was a daunting thing because, in general, I feel like my expectations around it were fairly accurate. And not everyone maybe has that benefit, which is to say that I really saw private practice as a lot more about entrepreneurship than just being a therapist. And I don't think every therapist thinks about it in that way. If you don't think about it in that way, it can be particularly challenging and really overwhelming because you're like, well, I don't know. I've never had to think about this. And like,
Hmm.
do I create a process? Do I not? And how do I format this? And what do I do here? And I think that can very easily bog somebody down. But I think going into it, it felt daunting at first and overwhelming. But I'm also glad that I had a fairly realistic expectation of what was involved in it and the things that I would need to think about and do.
Hmm.
Of, am I doing client invoicing? Am I not? How am I doing that? Right? Am I doing it once a month? Am I doing it every week? Just all of those like pieces of how am I going to market myself? Am I not? There's so many little aspects to it. And
Hmm.
I think generally too, we've talked about this before in the podcast, but there's a lot of people in the field that are very secretive
Yeah.
and will really keep to themselves about how they did things and what they did. And so sometimes it can feel a little isolating too when you're going private practice or you want to explore because it is daunting and overwhelming. But then also when people play their cards so close to their chest, then you're isolated too on top of that. And that feels super crummy.
Yeah.
And so this is something I know we've talked a lot about, but we really love talking to people about like how we did things and what we did and what we found worked and like what didn't work for
Hmm.
us and just sharing knowledge and ideas and resources because it can be really isolating and there is a lot of misinformation and misinterpretations of private practice, but it really helps to have somebody be like, "Oh yeah, like this is what I did. Like this is what worked for me. You might want to
Hmm.
consider XYZ."
Yeah.
Um
When
and
having,
so
and the people that we have talked to that have been supportive have been people that are like, there isn't like a right or wrong way to do it. And have been very like, this this is helpful to me, like take it or leave it, and this is what I would recommend. Again, this is what was helpful for me. And I think that part, you mentioned the misinformation piece, and I think that was really helpful for me to hear from people was like, as an entrepreneur, you do get to pick the way you want to do it and how you want to do it. And I feel very lucky that I was kind of semi an entrepreneur before doing this and, 50% entrepreneur. So I had a little bit of that understanding, but it was even, I, I think that there's some fear mongering that goes into private practice a little bit where it's like, it's either fear mongering or it's like, you need to go into full cash pay private practice. And there isn't like this in between, which is, I feel like where you and I sit a little bit, where we're like, we want to help and build and grow, but we don't want to like scare people out of this, but we're going to be honest. And then we want to like also be like encourage people because there's all this positive to it too.
absolutely. I think that the other thing that adds in some ways to this disservice is a lot of people will, and again, we've talked about this before on the podcast, will start group practice and then they'll transfer out or transition out into private practice. And I find by and large, most group practices don't do a very good job at supporting people in that transition and like recognizing that it is a very natural transition and that most people do want to do that at some point, and that's like okay,
Yeah.
and helping people launch that. And so I think that that adds to a lot of the misinterpretations and misunderstandings of private practice, because it's just not very well supported, even though it's such a natural transition for folks. And you just see it
Hmm.
time and time and time and time and time again. They like go to a group because they don't want the headache of managing the business portion.
Hmm.
Totally understandable.
Yeah.
They go, they get the experience of better understanding what it's like, they build the confidence as a clinician, they get the clients, right? They reach a really good flow, and then it kind of opens up this door of being ready for the next challenge, which is typically like, oh yeah, I want to go ahead and just go private practice and really just
Hmm.
do my own thing.
Yeah.
And so uh, I think a lot of people, like I said, are just like disadvantaged in that sense, because that's the typical pipeline for folks, and group practices like
Yeah.
just don't support that or talk about that very well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think I've mentioned this to you, maybe not on the podcast, but like the program that I went to for my master's now has private practice courses that you can take in it to like,
That's so cool.
yeah, to help support you learn how to build a private practice or how to like do that type of stuff and like billing and paperwork and ethics. And so it's like an ethics-based course. And I am like so jealous of some of those people. But at the same time, like I don't know if I would have even taken that course. If I'm being honest, like I never saw myself in private practice ever. And
Hmm.
because I think I was in a position where there was a lot of people saying it was not, I don't know, like not morally right to do private practice, like it was too hard and that like dealing with insurance companies was painful and challenging and took up too much of your time that you didn't get paid for. Um, and it's so much more beyond just that is, I am still doing what I aspired to do when I first got this degree and this career path. But I do wish that I had had the opportunity to take a class or to learn from people earlier on to understand more about like the nuance of private practice rather than like the you have to be in community mental health to get your loans repaid and like go away.
I heard a similar but different storyline about private practice, which was just
Mhm.
this idea that it wasn't sustainable. Like that
Yeah.
it was hard, but that it wasn't like sustainable because so much of your time went to running the business, and those hours were theoretically unpaid, and so
Hmm.
you would lose a lot of money essentially going private practice,
Yeah.
which I can certainly see now that we are in private practice and have made that transition. I can certainly see how somebody could get bogged down in administrative tasks,
Hmm.
and if they're not efficient or don't create processes or aren't like diligent about those things, and let it be a time suck in some ways, I could see how it's not sustainable. But generally speaking, I'm very confused by that statement of the fact that it's not sustainable. And it's like it has challenges, but every job you have has challenges. It's the ones that you're going to be most comfortable working with, and like you're
Hmm.
still getting the best work life balance for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And to also know like there are systems available to help you, right? Like we have a CPA and we have a third party biller. We could have chose not to do that and to do it all on our own, right? And we could have
Right.
chosen to have one third party person and not the other. But like there are services out there to help you. And yeah, you do have to spend a little bit of money, but like isn't that the point? Like you have to spend money to make money and like not also, full disclosure, we are not in this to make money. We are in this to live and survive, basically. Making money is just a byproduct. But having that support system and like finding systems to help, like CPAs or billers or I don't know, other business people to help has been like it lifts this stressful weight off where they can just tell you, hey, like you should do it in this way, it's going to be better for you, or like let's talk back and forth. I think our the companies that we work with right now are have been so helpful at like having conversations with us about what it is that we're wanting to achieve, and that has been so nice and like affirming in a lot of ways.
Yeah, if anyone knows us, they know that we love a good conversation and not an email. So that adds up. Here this brings up something that I would definitely recommend to anyone that's considering transitioning to private practice, which is I think one of the biggest strengths that you can bring into a private practice and starting your business is knowing yourself really well and the things that you can do and the things that you cannot do.
Hmm.
Because both Andrea and I had to get very real about what was actually realistic of things that we could do and things that we could not do.
Yeah.
And we mutually decided we can't do the billing and that can be okay. And so that would be something I would really recommend to somebody that's considering it is okay, being really real with yourself of what can you actually do? What do you want to do? What's realistic? And the
Mhm.
things that you cannot do, how can you outsource them
Yeah.
in an efficient
Yeah.
way?
Definitely. And I think that you can apply that principle to so many pieces of this business of like, even generally to being an entrepreneur is like really being real with what are even your boundaries for scheduling, right? Like what are you willing to work on and when and how many clients are you willing to see and use those things to kind of incorporate like what you're going to ask for help on or what you're willing to spend money on and to be super realistic with your abilities, your capacity, your like boundaries for yourself. Because we totally could have gone into this and been like, we're going to try and do all of these things on our own and fill our caseloads with 20 people just because we need the money or whatever it is, or need to move everybody around. But you and I did get very real about like neither of us are willing to work on Fridays, and we really wanted to only see a certain number of clients for like our mental well-being. We really wanted to do supervision and like how much time did we want to spend with each other each week and doing billing and being business owners and that conversation was like kind of a confidence builder for me where I was like, well, number one, I chose the right business partner that they're willing to have this conversation with me. But number two, it's helpful to just frame what is possible for yourself. Because as an entrepreneur, you do get to choose. You do get the ability to have choice and control in your business.
I think another tip that I would recommend to people that is something that we did, and we talked like a little bit directly about it, but I don't know how much we really I don't know belabored the point on this. Something that we did, two things that we did that I would suggest to anyone transitioning, but also anyone that's transitioning to private practice and is neurodivergent. One is we created basically a flow chart of what we needed to do and what the steps were and created a little bit more of a flow and a process for things because it can feel really overwhelming and there are a lot of little pieces and it's not that they're not manageable, it's just that sometimes it can feel like you have to do all of them when you actually don't have to do all of them. There is maybe more of an order to things. So the first thing I would say is like definitely make some type of flow chart and or there's a lot of resources out there, like find
Yeah.
a flow chart and use it. The other piece in conjunction with that, and this is the neurodivergent tip, is don't set time limits on things.
Hmm. Yeah.
Focus on tasks and let your to-do list be task oriented instead of time oriented
Hmm.
because the process can take longer in some ways and shorter in others and it can be overwhelming. I think if you set time limits to things, you're almost like setting yourself up for failure.
100%.
And so I think for both of us too, because we had other jobs, we're doing other things, that was really critical for us because I didn't feel like, oh, I have to get this done this week and I have to research this and da 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 da. There wasn't a time pressure piece on it. Like, yes, we wanted to do these things, but it became a lot more about the tasks. And then that way, the whole process and flow that we created felt way less overwhelming
Hmm.
because one, there was a process and a flow, and two, there wasn't a time component piece to it.
Yeah. And a lot of the things we found out like we couldn't do without other things being done first, right? Like, especially in the businessy side of it, you can't sign up for a business license without signing up for this, without signing up for this. And, there's like this whole thing, and there's so many resources. And maybe I'll share some of the resources that we used from those blogs that we really liked, and I'll share
Mm.
those in the comments because those are really powerful and really helpful. And I like what you're saying about the task oriented piece. Like, taking away the time takes away the pressure. And I think you and I were able to sit down, especially like early on. I think there was one day we were on a video call for like 4 or 5 hours or something. But it was because like we had our task, we had our list of everything, and we were like, "Do you still have the capacity?" And we were like, "Well, if I grab a snack, yeah." Like, and we were just going and flowing, and we got as much done. And then there were other days where we were like 30 minutes on a call and then done because we were like, well, I don't have the capacity today. And that's okay, and that's the joy of being able to do this. I think what I would add to that is like, you might not know what that flow looks like right away. So it's okay to just like throw everything out on a document or on a piece of paper or whatever, everything that's in your brain, and then you'll be able to see what that flow is, right? Then
Yeah.
you'll be able to notice and see, like, like, I think a lot of the things we thought of were like, when do we post our website? When do we post that we're taking clients? Okay, do we have our business license? And so we had to kind of like throw everything out there and then organize it, which was like really helpful.
We did have quite a messy Google Doc for a while of our flow because we would stick, one of the things would be like finding an accountant, and we would stick like
Yeah.
all these different accountants that we found and people that we met with and emailed, and so, like this document was just littered with stuff. I'm sure we still have it floating around somewhere, and it would be like
Yeah.
wild to look back at it. But definitely just getting it out on paper and then finding some level of organization in that as time goes on, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always call it like the brain dump power of getting ideas out there, and you don't have to do it perfectly. I think that was another thing, was like nothing has to be perfect right away. You just have to do it.
And giving yourself the permission to change things if things don't go exactly how you want or you get
Yeah.
different feedback, right? For instance, we initially did client invoicing every week and we got a lot of feedback around that was not going to be the most effective system, and for a variety of reasons, right? And so we pretty quickly moved to doing invoicing at the end of the month, client invoicing at the end of the month. And so I think giving yourself the permission too that you don't have to do things perfectly and you're allowed to change things and that is okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like giving yourself permission to be flexible. Yeah. Is such
How
a
many
big
times have
one.
we yeah, how many times have we had to like change things?
Yeah. And be okay with that. And I know like you and I talk a lot about, well, in the long term, what's the system that's going to work for us, right? But then we also are always like, but it's okay if we change it, right? And like
Yeah.
step away from that rigidity, because it's like there are some things we can do now that set us up for long-term success and like long-term support for sure. But there's also a lot of things where it's like, oh, no, we can't quite do that yet. Like we just got to let ourselves do it the way that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you
Yeah.
have any other tips that come to mind for people that are thinking about going private practice?
I don't know if it's necessarily a tip, but just more of like words of encouragement of like, it's not scary. It's
Hmm.
it's not scary. And if it's in the back of your mind, if you've been thinking about doing it, just do the damn thing. And I think that I mean, that's something that people my whole life have told me, is like, just do the damn thing. Because if I my anxiety or my brain take over and take control, I would never do some of the things that I've done. Like, and to just jump in and know that you're going to be supported, hopefully, by the people in your life, is what I would tell anyone, even thinking about it or like thinking about it down the line. And even like those people that are like, oh, in like 5 to 6 years or whatever, I want to do private practice. Just do it. You can do it. Just do the damn thing.
There's never a perfect time.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. My pro tip is extremely biased, which is if you have somebody you can do it with,
Hmm.
highly recommend.
Oh my gosh, for real. For real. Like I couldn't. Also, this is kind of a sidebar, but I think you'll find this hilarious. Every time I get on a call with you, LJ, my husband, will be like, "So how's your boss today? What did your boss tell you to do this day today?" And I'm like, "Dude, she's she's not my boss." And he's like, "Well, She kind of is. But it's really funny to me. I had to tell you that, a little rabbit tail on that one. But Trail, it's like every single time I'm like, well, I've got a call with Olivia, and he's like, you mean your boss? Sure.
Right. Uh-huh.
And then he goes, well, aren't you her boss? And I'm like, oh my God.
That's a really interesting company structure if that's how it
Right.
works.
It's like there might be a lot of issues with that structure,
I see absolutely zero issues with that.
but I mean, yeah, like it's so nice to just have somebody to do it with, and to like have kind of the goals and the fun things that we're looking forward to, and be aligned, but also be different. Like you and I have different like long-term things, but I think they're going to work so well together, which I'm so excited about. And to grow this business and to grow in our like professional lives as individuals. So it is so helpful to have that, and to just like still be able to text someone and be like, dude, help me figure this out. Like, what do I do?
Yeah, what on earth is happening and how do I fix it?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Um, Switching to a little bit similar topic that we were going to include is kind of a day in the life of what it looks like for us day to day. Andrea, even though I know, what does your day look like?
Oh, man, what's really interesting about this idea is I actually get asked this question by a lot of people, like in like client context, as well as like supervisee context, and then like just like personal life context. And I think it's because people who know me know that I'm a little chaotic, and like am a workaholic. Not in like the traditional sense of workaholic, but like if I'm sitting down doing nothing, usually something is wrong. I always have to be doing something. I have this really strong drive to like always be working. So I've gotten asked a lot how do you go about your day? How do you like get yourself motivated every morning to do the thing, and like keep your structure and all of that? And I have what some people could call rituals, or like structure that I do on a daily basis. And this, I go to the gym every single morning during the week. If I do not go to the gym in the morning, I am not okay. And part of that is for chronic health reasons, where if I don't move my body and like move in the morning, then I like physically hurt throughout the day. But getting that like little burst of energy in the morning and doing that is really helpful. And then I eat a full breakfast. Like I'm literally walking you through my day. I eat a full ass breakfast: eggs, toast, meat, and usually some sort of fruit or vegetable. And then, there's a mix of administrative and client tasks on a day-to-day basis. And, I see my clients in the afternoon and do administrative stuff during the day. And it's a nice little flow for myself to feel productive and to feel like I'm working, but also not feel like I'm overwhelmed with things every day. And this is so much nicer of a structure than what I had before, which was just like constantly working, checking my emails first thing in the morning, which I don't do anymore, and really being able to keep that on a daily basis is really, really helpful for me.
I like the whole ass breakfast. Very
Full
pointed.
ass breakfast. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think like I probably have high cholesterol due to the amount of scrambled eggs I eat. But if I don't eat full breakfast, at least I'm with ADHD, I tend to forget to eat throughout the day, right? And if I don't eat those meals, or if I don't eat breakfast, then, or if I eat breakfast, then I feel okay if I accidentally skip lunch, but I can still like feel hungry around lunch enough to eat it. And then, so it's really, really helpful to fuel myself through the day. But yeah, a whole ass breakfast.
Whole ass breakfast.
Yeah.
My
What's
day
your day
has
look
some.
like?
Yeah, my day has some similarities. I have my own little routine in the mornings that I love, which is get my daughter off to school, and then I usually go and make my coffee. And where I'm at currently is a little office in my backyard, so I have my little morning commute where I walk out to my office. I like turn on all the lights and I just like love my little routine. And so I have a little bit of time before I would see a client or even like have my first meeting just to be like, okay, what's my calendar like? Are there any emails, any like outstanding things I need to do? Double check, cross reference, whatever the case may be. So I like that kind of wind up time in essence of adjusting to the workday instead of just coming in, a couple of minutes before I have to log into a session at 9 or a meeting and having to be on essentially.
Yeah.
So I found that works really well for me. And I have that same buffer at the end of my day for the most part. Some days I have an exception where my last meetings end around like 2-ish and I have about a half an hour of like buffer time between going and picking up my kiddo. And I find that's really helpful. But yeah, my day's pretty similar in the sense of mostly client based, some administrative tasks, some supervision based stuff. And also now I think the other piece that I really have enjoyed about transitioning to private practice is two things I have noticed. I don't have so much trouble making sure I remember all of the tasks and things I need to do. So that level of overwhelm or even like sometimes anxiety that I'm forgetting that I need to be doing something is just not there because the amount of tasks is so much lower.
Yeah.
So that is something that's been really lovely. But the other piece in conjunction with that is that because I have a lot more mental capacity back, one of the other things that I try to do is just like connect with friends and other people within the field. And in some ways, I guess you could say that's some level of networking, but I really see it more as just like connecting with friends and people that I know and care about. And having more time to be able to do that is really lovely. So I count that like part personal and part professional, but that is like day-to-day basis something that is now a lot more normal and
Yeah.
common for me than it used to be, which is really lovely.
Yeah. And on a private practice, week in a life, you and I meet for admin stuff once a week at minimum,
Right.
where we check in and we're like, okay, how's business running this week, right? And it also gives us an opportunity to be like, if there's any client stuff that comes up, we can support one another in that too, which is really great. And having that set time every single week, even if we have to move it a little bit or be flexible with ourselves with that, has been really nice. And I know you and I had that previously in our other job, but like there was so much more content in that where this feels like routine and it feels comfortable and like a great place for us to just have constant business check-ins. And if you are going to work with a business owner or a business partner, definitely recommend having meetings regularly with them, even if you don't have anything to talk about. Like, I think that that's so critical and so important is to meet and check in. And even if you're doing it by yourself, like set an hour aside every week to like review your admin stuff or your business stuff and see where you
Right.
can grow or change. Like, that is really helpful. And if you don't end up using the full hour, that's fine. Move on.
There's been so many times where we'll get into a meeting and I'm like, I don't think I have like anything I need to tell Andrea. And then like 10 things come to mind the minute I see your face. And I'm like, okay, buckle up, Buttercup, because I got some stuff for you.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So
So,
definitely recommend that for sure.
yeah. Yeah. And like we've said to other people or on this podcast a bunch, is that like we have a hard no on Fridays, right? You spend like Fridays with your daughter, and I spend Fridays doing photography. And it's having that firm boundary is so, like, so kind to my body. Like, I had that before, but I feel like I was just like always running a marathon Monday through Thursday, that when it got to Friday was just like
Dead.
literally. And now I've got that energy back, like you said, to see people or to do things or to be creative or whatever.
I think for me, yes, I'm so glad I have my Fridays off. I mean, that's been such a standard of mine for a while that it doesn't feel as significant, I suppose, in a way anymore, just because I've had Fridays off for so long.
Yeah.
However, I haven't always had my buffer times that I just mentioned, and I found that
Hmm.
those are really helpful and I'm becoming more and more protective of those in terms of making my coffee and doing my little walking commute out to my office and getting things fired up and adjusted and like checking my to-do list and making sure I'm on top of the things, but then also having that wind down period too at the end of the day. And I think really realizing that those are very helpful for me because the transition from work to parent is
Mhm.
sobering.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
parenting in general is an aggressively humbling experience, and if you know me, I like describe it as that all the time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that transition from work to parent is a rocky road sometimes.
Yeah. Well,
I'm very protective of that.
I think that this brings up, something that I guess I could say is a tip for people going into private practice or even entrepreneurship again, is that you don't have to be doing something every minute of every day. Like, I think there is this, I don't know if it's a societal thing of like being an entrepreneur, you're literally working 24 hours a
20.
day.
Ugh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it doesn't have to be true. Like I am someone where if I have time in my day, I am a little bit like, I should be working, I should be doing something. What am I like forgetting? But taking care of yourself, taking care of your family, taking care of your animals, like that's self-care and that's work. And you do still deserve that time and that space. So I think like being able to give yourself permission to take space as an entrepreneur and to take breaks and vacations and lunch breaks, Olivia.
I'm doing amazing at that. I'm doing
Yes, you
amazing.
are. Yes, you are.
I mean, honestly, I be eating.
Yay.
So, nailing
Yeah.
it. Absolutely
I mean,
nailing it.
I think like a big takeaway from our conversation today, at least what I'm hearing, which is such a therapist-y thing for me to say right now, is
Yes, please summarize it for me in a tiny little cute bow wrapped box so I can take it away with me.
the world of private practice isn't isn't big and scary and like you can do it. And even though there might be people that are making it sound scary or creating that anxiety or saying that it's not sustainable or telling you that it is sustainable, like there is space for you in this world and it is not as big and scary as it feels.
And we believe in you. We
Yeah,
totally think you can do
100%.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I rabbit
Can I
trail?
Yeah, I have a rabbit trail question for you, but you go first.
Oh, you have a question? Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I have a new thing that I realize that I do. It's a new like hyperfixation of mine that I don't know where it's like come from, but I can't stop it now and I'm worried that it's becoming OCD. I have had this intrusive thought lately that I'm going to break my ankles. And it's hyper specific. So when I'm sitting here in my chair, I will like my leg will be like this so my ankles like kind of turn
Oh,
to the
yeah.
side and I've had this intrusive thought in my brain that if anything were to happen that my ankle could just snap in that direction. Do I need to go to
Wow.
therapy?
I think you should never stop.
That's fair. That's fair. Like
That's so
I
random.
I was doing box jumps at the gym and I slipped and I was like, "Oh my God, I could break my ankle right now." And I like didn't want to keep doing them, but I was like, "Oh my God, my ankle just twisted in the way that I sit." See, I'm doing it right now. Like I'm sitting with my ankles like this and I'm like, "I gotta stop. Gotta stop." But they're not gonna break. It's fine. I'm just waiting.
Also, even if they did, that's like not the worst thing that could ever happen to you.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah, like people are dying, you know.
Yeah. If I get into, I'd do it in the car. And if I was to get in a car accident, my ankle would break.
A lot of things could break in a car accident, Andrea. That's why people don't want to get into them.
See? Why is this happening in my brain? Every single time I do this and I notice my ankle do. I even freaked out with I sleep like this. And the other night I was like, "Oh my God, if somebody hit my head, my wrist would break." What's happening to me?
I don't know. Really concerned about your appendages. It reminds me a little bit of that meme where I forget exactly the exact quote, but it's like someone's like, "Oh my gosh, there's some people that are so depressed that like can't get out of bed." And then the other person's like, "Yeah, Cindy, there's some people that are so depressed they kill themselves." Like,
It's not funny, you guys.
yeah. Yeah, like that. Yes, obviously that piece is not funny, but it's just like, yeah. Like,
Yeah. No, yep.
yeah. Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
Well, I'll start just adding, well, I could die in there instead.
Yeah, I hope you have a shift in your intrusive thoughts to that. I think that would be really helpful for all of us.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's
I
terrible.
felt I
I'm
felt the
sorry.
urge to share it because I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing that I can't get out of my head. And I don't know where it came from. I don't know anyone that's broken an ankle like that. So
So my rabbit trail obviously is drastically different. So
I
this
love it.
came up in context with a family member, and we were talking about these like random, I guess, pipe dreams that we have
Hmm.
that weirdly aligned. And then it made me think, I was like, oh, I mean, it probably isn't just a neurodivergent thing, but it made me curious. I was like, oh, I wonder if there's any like random pipe dreams that Andrea has that I don't know about that maybe some have like some weird crossover. So I'll
Hmm.
go first.
Yes, please.
They're so random. However, I would love to be able to learn how to play the drums, learn how to play the cello, because that was the instrument I originally wanted to learn how to play. But my dad had a no strings instrument policy at our house, so I had to pick a different instrument. Yeah,
I take offense to that because, fun fact, I played the cello all the way through college.
right. I would love to be able to play the cello. It's like such a beautiful instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Okay.
would love to be able to learn to play the drums and the cello. And I think it would be fun to pick up figure skating.
That's so funny.
I actually took figure skating lessons for about a year and I like loved it.
I took figure skating lessons for 3 years, I think. Yeah, my mom figure skated when she was young, so she wanted me to try it. It's hard, but I every Winter Olympics I watch the figure skating because I'm just like, how are you doing this?
Right.
Like
Right.
how yeah. And like I think every time I go ice skating, which hasn't been for years, I'm like, I could do it, a whatever jump, triple axel in the air. No, I can't. I can barely even go backwards.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, those are like random things about me where it's like I would love to learn and do those things. I don't know
Yeah,
realistically when I will do those or if I will do those, but just like
right.
random pipe dreams I have. Do you have any?
Huh. I mean, I feel like I have so many. In like a little bit of a different like there's so many things that I want to do and want to put out there. Like this podcast was one of them and like do those types of things which feel a little bit more realistic, but as far as like really out there things, I've always wanted to be in a band. Like I think that like being in a band would be so much fun and just like I'm thinking garage band level fun. I by no means am like super musically talented, and I've always like it's funny that you bring up the cello because all throughout playing the cello, I always like really wanted to play bass. Like I was like, "Oh, I could be the cool
Mm,
bass girl." Like that is always on my mind. Like I would still love to learn how to play bass because I think that that's just such a cool instrument too.
it is cool. Yeah,
And somebody
totally.
at one point was like, "Oh, you play cello? That's just a bass turned to the side." And I was like, "But is it though? That's the case."
No.
But I think being in some sort of like pop punk indie band would be like kind of fun.
Yeah, I love that. See, we
Yeah,
both have instrument related ones.
totally. Totally. And then I think my other one would be like I really would love to start like a coffee stand or like a coffee shop. Like I think it would just be so fun to have a little coffee shop.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, I always knew you would have one of those bikini places. Should have known.
Don't even have a witty response for that because that was just on the nose.
Does Arizona have those bikini coffee places like Washington?
Yeah, and if you go on Women's Wednesdays, you get 25% off your drinks.
Do you go?
No, I haven't been. I'm too scared.
Next time I should tell you the story about how I accidentally ended up at one.
Okay, we'll put it on the list for weird titty experiences.
What else is on that list? Just curious.
That will be held in secret. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really have a list, but I'll add it to my rabbit trail note and then we can share with the world Olivia's titty titty shack experience.
The only thing I'm going to say about that is don't name your coffee place Go Go Coffee and think that it's
No.
obvious what it is.
Or like
It's obvious
there's
that
one
there's coffee.
there's one in Seattle called Ladybug. No, not a bikini stand, like a cutesy cozy coffee stand, Olivia.
Okay, fine. They can wear clothes. I guess it's your dream.
How about we compromise? We can make it backless. Just apron in the front, nothing in the back.
Like assless chaps, but an
Yeah.
apron.
I love this for us.
Perfect.
Okay, so next business venture.
Yeah, obviously. We'll
And
find
then
a
we
way
can
to
have
make
a
it like mental healthy.
yeah, and then we can have a stage. And then our band can play on the stage.
Espresso, less depresso.
Sold. Let's go trademark it right now.
Next merch idea.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to make a band tee for that. Okay. Well, thank you all for sticking with us today. And yeah, what do we say at the end of these things?
Not much. I don't think
Great.
the world needs more of us. But generally speaking, if you have things you want us to talk about, ideas, things you want us to share, you want to learn, let us know. We're always open to ideas. But other than that, all the
Yeah.
things like subscribe, comment, and we will catch you all in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, health, tax, or professional advice. Always consult a licensed professional for specific advice related to your situation.
And just a quick note to all you listeners. Yes, we're real therapists, but please remember this podcast isn't therapy. We're here to share ideas, have some laughs, and maybe make you think. Just maybe. But being a listener doesn't replace therapy. If you need mental health support, please see a licensed professional in your area. And if you're in crisis, call or text 988 in the US.